We're 8 months into this pandemic, 8 months in, and our frontline healthcare workers are still sounding the alarm about the lack of personal protective equipment, the lack of testing and contact tracing, all of which are basic containment measures that we have heard about repeatedly for 8 months. Right from the beginning, the experts said testing and contact tracing in particular are key ingredients to slowing the virus and reversing the surge that we are seeing nationwide now. But in some places, the virus is so bad that contact tracing is next to impossible. Places like North Dakota, which currently has the highest COVID mortality rate in the world. One contact tracer in North Dakota wrote in an op-ed in the Washington Post describing how drastically her work as a contact tracer has changed since the virus began to overwhelm the state. She explains, quote, "Things got so bad so fast that we surrendered one of our key weapons against the pandemic. Test and trace went by the wayside. Even if we had enough staff to call up everyone's workplace and contact, there are so many new infections that it wouldn't be as effective. At this point, the government has given up on following the virus's path through the state. All we can do is notify people as quickly as possible that they have the virus." She continues, quote, "What began as a 15-hour-a-week position is now a round-the-clock job. My phone buzzes constantly with calls and texts from my cases, reporting symptoms and asking questions. Legally, I'm not allowed to give medical advice, but I direct them to the right services and sources of information. Mostly, I just try to listen. Some people, when they are sick and in isolation, just want to talk to someone so they don't feel so alone. When you get down to it, listening to a person's worries is both the least I can do and the most I can do to help," which is awful to think about. Joining me now is KAILEE Leingang, a North Dakota contact tracer and senior nursing student at the University of North Dakota. KAILEE, thank you for joining us. Thank you for what you do. There are people like you, thousands of them across America, who we don't know unless the phone rings. And because I travel, my phone does ring from contact tracers. And they're just trying to gather some basic information from me that get put into a system that is supposed to give us a map, to sort of tell us, to give us advance notice of what's going on, to be able to warn people who've been in contact with me, and to give authorities some sense of where this virus is going. You said that at some point North Dakota kind of had to abandon the idea that they're actually tracing this virus.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much that we ended up giving up. It was more of we couldn't keep up with it. People were either having contact lists of maybe only 3 people to like 50 different people in one place. It became a necessity of it's more important to contact the cases that are positive and spreading than it was to contact every single contact at that point.
KAILEE, talk to me about what good contact tracing looks like. How's it supposed to go down?
Yeah, so good contact tracing and what we had done originally is we would be assigned cases. Once they test positive, we usually call them. They would already know that they were positive through the clinic or the testing site. And then we would get all of their demographic information, health and medical history, stuff that was more important. And you'd move on to more of where have you worked, where have you been, who have you been around, and putting all of those places into the system. Now, unfortunately, again, that's not something that we can do.
And if you were able to do what you originally designed, the way it was originally designed, how effective is that? What's the goal there, that you can figure out everywhere this person has been and with whom they've been in contact, and then what, try and find all those other people?
Yeah, so the whole thing is to, I would get a list of everybody that you've been around, and then I would contact them individually and say, you have been exposed to COVID-19, you need to isolate for 14 days, and then they would be inputted into the system and get monitored themselves as well.
Talk to me about how this goes. Obviously, each one of these calls is different. You don't have to divulge anything that you're not allowed to divulge, but generally speaking, what happens when you call someone? How do they respond to you?
Yeah, so now it's usually kind of like it was said in that article. People are almost very resigned about it. It's like, of course it was, I thought so. So it's usually just starts with, hi, is this so-and-so? And have you been made aware of your test results? And then you get their date of birth, confirm who they are, and just start talking to them. I like to form a relationship with people more so maybe than others, but it's a scary time, especially if it's your whole family or it's an older person. It's scary. So it's offering all of that. getting their information, seeing if they've worked, letting them know this was when you were infectious, this is who you need to notify. We give need to isolate letters so they can provide that to their employers. And then I usually just leave my personal contact information for them to reach out if they ever need anything.
And you are still running into some people who don't take this seriously.
Yeah, sadly we are. So there are still a good amount. I would say it's less now, but originally, yes, it was a lot of, well, this is political, this is a hoax, or, it's not happening in North Dakota. It's not needed here. That's not true. So thankfully now it's kind of toned down and people are more serious about it, but we're still seeing huge numbers of cases and hospitalizations, and yeah, it's going downhill.
KAILEE, you have one of the most important jobs in America, and I will say that 6 months ago or 8 months ago, I didn't even know such a job existed. I didn't know what this was all about. We heard these terms. We were told contact tracing is going to be the most important thing. It's an honor to speak to you. Thank you. History will smile upon you and the thousands of others across America who are doing this important work. KAILEE Leingang is a North Dakota contact tracer and a senior nursing student at the University of North Dakota. Thank you for your work and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.